Mark on this man. You know, the good sense.
Oh.
He is. He's
spam.
Yeah.
So we don't need to. Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Primetime TV and Women Unscripted. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marville-Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special show with special guests / hosts, and that is to my left. We have one of my original Tinkerbellas here, Helena Trangata, one of our Women Unscripted. Welcome back.
Yes, it's been so long.
Especially since you are now a real blonde bombshell. I love it.
Isn't that interesting how you can just change your hair and
change your life, right?
And change your life. That's right.
I know, exactly. Oh, I can't wait for some juicy stories. Anyway, to my right is one of my other Women Unscripted, Maura Sweeney. Maura for you, Maura for everyone.
I'm for everyone is right, Barbara.
You truly are, and I can't thank both of you enough for coming up to the show today. We also have another original Women Unscripted. You know, we're going on, is it 4 or 5 years? 6? I forget now.
I was going to say 5 years. Can it be?
I think
That's
it is.
incredible.
I don't know.
Anyway,
We'll have to verify.
we're here. But I do want to say a special hello to Cher Kistler.
We miss you, Cher.
We miss you, and we know you'll be back for the next show, the end of next month. And we're getting a lot of requests to do these shows more often because of the content and the love that we share here, hence my love sign, because that's really what our show's about today, but mainly because it's dedicated to our dear, sweet, best friend and sister, Joanne Hill. And we're going to go ahead and toss to a quick little video that I put together with the few pictures that I have, and then I will be updating that as we go along. She made her transition last Friday, January 24th at noontime, and I know where she is. We'll be right back.
You know what I'm thinking too? Could I move this just a tad so it's a little...
So anyway, we just want to say thanks for joining us today. Our show is pretty much about love because that's where we need to return to. And when we lose someone in our life, that's what saves us. At least for me, that's my faith. My girls on each of my side will give their little spin too, because Joanne was a very dear friend. She was an amazing woman. She was a musician, a sound healer. And some of the unfortunate things that happened to her, I don't even want to go there, but God bless her, and she's with us. She is so healthy and so happy right now. And I want to thank you guys for coming up here and helping us share the show on how maybe we can, let people know how we handle grief and how we transition on the planet while we're here in the flesh, and how we keep moving on. And I know that family is very important, but so are friends. And these two are true bestie friends, and that's why they still come up. We don't see Maura as much as we like to, because Maura is spreading happiness around the world.
I leave again in a couple of weeks for England.
I know.
Where are you leaving? I go to England. to London. I'll be at an international conference there. And that, it was interesting. It was somebody in Nigeria who gave my name to someone I never heard of. She's an attorney in London who was doing an international event. And she said, you need to check out Maura Sweeney in Florida. And it was months later, I got this notice, and she said, I've been cyber stalking you, Maura. And I'd like for you to come and speak. And I think they're having some kind of an awards thing, but it's Leap and Shine Conference, it's called. And what is it? What we all do. It's amazing how many people are in that genre. It is bringing people together, lifting them up, helping them literally shine into their best version of self.
Is it called Leap and Shine?
Leap and Shine.
Is it on a leap year? Is it?
I think I've seen that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe because I shared it or somebody shared it. I don't know.
Yes.
But it's the fourth conference of its kind, and I'll be meeting. They have a few people from the United States that are coming. The woman in Nigeria who I knew but I've never met in the flesh, I'm going to meet her in England.
All
So
right.
exciting.
You know what? I have to tell you, for me, it is. Because sometimes, you spend a lot of time on the computer, and I deal with people in different places. But what I really love, what did I tell you when I came in today?
Yes.
I don't see you ladies too often, but what do I feel every time I'm in your company?
I know.
Love.
It's the same.
My heart loves you ladies.
Well, we love you. It's all about
Thank
love.
you, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, just to give you, if you're just tuning in for the first time, Maura has a lot of history with naming this show, because I had been wanting to do a women's show.
That's true.
And because I hang out with some really awesome women, and we all have lots of fun messages to share, a lot of laughter, a lot of craziness too sometimes. But we were at Cher Kistler's Amazing Woman Breakfast, which is truly amazing. This gal has like an army of strong women that are out there in the community, and we are some of them because we're strong women too. But I didn't know what to call this show, and was I speaking there?
Yeah, you were talking to me,
Oh,
and I
that's what
joked.
you came up to me and you said, "Oh, Barbara, you're this blah 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 blah. You're such a woman unscripted." And I just stopped in my tracks and I said, "Maura, that's it." And she go, "What? The name of the show, hence Women Unscripted."
And it is, as we all can attest. It is the unscripted show. But you know what, though? There's always, the nice thing about it, there's always the authenticity and the genuineness, and you allow the show to go where it's going to go.
I know. The girls will ask me, and Cher is so funny because well, what are we going to talk about?
Right. And this is the first time I didn't ask you. We have stuff to talk about,
See?
but I'm ready.
Listen, it's Cher.
You got me.
She stirs that pot. We love you, Cher, and we really, really wish you were here for this show, especially today. But we'll definitely see you next week. She's doing well. I talked to her today, so she had a little bit of a challenge with her leg and all. So tell me what you've been up to. I know you're still rocking those babies.
Rocking the babies. I'll be rocking the babies this week, and talk about love. There's some kind of love there. I love them, and they love me, and it's just pretty awesome. And
Tell everybody why you rock those babies.
And where you're rocking them, if nobody's ever known where you're rocking them. This is the first time they're tuning in.
I rock babies. I'm a baby cuddler at Medical Center of Trinity as a volunteer, and I've been doing it almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in April, and I am so blessed to have been able to take this opportunity to rock these babies. I thought I was signing up for 1 hour a week. Turned out I was signing up for 4 hours a week, and I just made it work, and it's been worth every hour, every minute that I spend there. So I just love it. I love my nurses. I have awesome nurses and staff that take such good care of these babies, and then I'm able to just sit there and love them while the nurses are taking care of their medical needs. So it's pretty awesome.
I thank you for that, because not only do I feel that love coming from her that she shares, but I know you are as well. So she is the rocking baby grandma in the entire Tampa Bay area here. I know there's other ones, but you're a special
I just
one.
someone asked me the other night, there's a Facebook story that goes around about this man, a grandpa, who rocks babies and how many hours he's done it. It's not local. And they were saying, my husband would love to do that, she said to me the other night. She said, do they take men? I said, I don't know. You'd have to ask. But there is a waiting list right now for cuddlers.
Oh, well, that's a good thing.
I don't know of any male cuddlers at our hospital. And there might be an opportunity there, but it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
I
love to hear
what an incredible calling. And I think, what is that? It's like you can't even convey that in language to a little child, but what it means and what it does for their heart and their soul, right?
And it does. And, of course, I talk to whoever I can talk to that will listen about Heart Math Institute. There's validation. when you feel those vibrations, if you're rocking a child, when you're hugging someone, there is validation through HeartMath Institute that it really is conveyed. It's delivered to that person within 12 feet away. You can deliver love. Isn't that amazing?
I'm sure.
Amazing,
I'm
but
sure
true,
I
and
could do it without a word, but I tell them.
Yes.
I tell
Yes.
them how their life's going to be wonderful. It's funny. I just had twin girls, and the second one, we call them A and B when they're born. The first one's born is A, and I was rocking B, and she was impatiently waiting to be fed. And so I talked to her about patience and how she was always going to have to be patient. She had to be patient to be born. She had to be patient in the hospital because they're feeding her sister first. And so I go in the next week, and she's doing better than her sister. And so then I have to talk to her sister and say, hey, now you're going to have to you're going to have to step up to the plate. Your sister stepped up. Now it's your turn to step up.
Isn't that how powerful and adorable?
That is adorable. And I'll tell you, that's a fun story. I've heard some of the not so fun stories, and that's why I really love to give you credit for what you do, because I know it can be challenging and sometimes it can be downright hurtful. And that's a good segue to talk about some of the things that we do to get out of our own way when life happens, and life happens no matter what. I love to listen to Joy FM, and there's such wonderful scriptures on there that I couldn't remember if my life depended on it. But it does get me through my morning, early morning. It gets me through my afternoon. I was listening to it on the way over here, and it brightens my spirit if I need it. And we were just talking about being on autopilot when so many things happen in one's life. And sometimes we can be on autopilot for the wrong reasons, or we can make the choice to be on autopilot for the right reasons once we've learned some of the skill sets that sometimes it takes over 70 years to learn, right, Tink?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a learning. Life is always learning.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully,
You know what?
because
That's
if you're
true for
not
people, I guess, who want to pay attention to learn. Some people just refuse.
That's true. That's
you know what they say, if you're not learning, you're dying. I mean,
or you stop living when you stop learning.
Right.
But the
Yes.
things, it's interesting. We could all go to school and learn the typical textbook stuff, but it's amazing the life lessons that we get. Especially as you were saying, like all these years, and you could go over the same things over and over and over, and each one might be the next layer, the next level, the next bit of wisdom, the next thing we're going to kind of like let go, the next forgiveness lesson, the next, right? The next bit of compassion, the next bit of, how about this understanding, when we always think everything is fine for us or I could handle it, and then you realize you're the person affected, and then you look at everybody else out there that maybe before you looked at in judgment, and you're like, oh, now it's happened to me. So those life lessons, they're not always easy, but you know what? I sometimes think that those are the things that really carry us through and make us the more wise. And we're adult people. It's funny. Like, you think you stop going. But like the wizened people, the old souls.
Yes.
And some kids are like that, too.
Yeah, I know, right? I think my grandson's like that.
Oh, I have a daughter like that. Same thing. She was born this way. I remember somebody holding her when she was 6 weeks old. Said, I've got to give her back. She's intimidating me. The eyes. But and I could meet little children, and you could see little children. They look at you, and they're in a little body, but it's like, there's an old person in there. There's a wise person, and they're seeing right through you, and they know everything that's going on.
It's amazing, the kids the generations that are out there today. They are very intelligent. You brought something up and about judgment and forgiveness. And that's a hard thing a lot of times, is to get into forgiveness. And judgment, well, it's not up for any of us to judge, at least that's my belief. But being the observer for me has really turned me around to go into the next level, which is forgiveness, but it stems from love. It really stems from love, because if you can get in that love state, you won't judge. You'll step back and you'll think about that. And if you come from love, it's going to give you the right answers each and every time, guaranteed 100%. I promise you that. When you come from love, if you step back and you observe, it allows you to take the time to look at what is actually happening. And if you do need to make an assessment to maybe change the way your thinking is, and believe me, sometimes it's not easy. And right away, especially if we're in a lower frequency, because we're all frequency, if we go into judgment from a reaction, we're reacting and we're not responding, then a lot of times we can be into a misperception of an event, a person, something somebody said, or whatever. But I have learned through all these different steps that I have learned in practicing it, and believe me, I'm far from perfect. But once a person truly learns how to forgive, and I've been there, done it, your life changes altogether, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something first, Helena?
Go ahead.
I'm listening to you. How interesting you said you started off from love, and it's from as the observer and in a place of love, and it's from that place you can forgive. And I'm thinking, isn't it interesting you look at the same thing and see it from a variety of perspectives?
Yes.
When I think about forgiveness, I always see the other person as myself. One woman said to me, this was years ago, she said, we can so easily judge other people until we find ourselves in a situation where we don't know what to do. So anything can happen. Any of us could be triggered in any way possible. What I always think is when it comes to forgiveness is whoever it is. Somebody I know, somebody I don't know, somebody really close to me, somebody that I've worked with, it doesn't matter. That could be me. Would I want to be forgiven? And the answer is, first of all, every person out there is another version of me. So would I always want to be forgiven? The answer is universally yes. So you know what the answer is for everybody? I don't care who you are. I don't care what's happened. You're already forgiven. I will not hold that against you because you know what it does to me? This is where it comes back to love.
Right.
Because every time we choose to withhold love from somebody, we're withholding love from ourselves. And then we have no peace. And I learned that a long time ago. It's like, whoa, nothing is worth the love of God, the peace of God. Nothing is worth it. Sorry, I don't care what you're doing out there or even what you might feel like you're doing to me. It is not worth giving up the love of God and the peace of God.
Well, I am so glad
So
to
it's the
hear you
same
say
thing you
that.
just said.
No, in just different words, and that's why you're on the show. That's why Tink's on the show. Now, what did you want to say?
I'm just listening right now. I didn't have anything to say right then.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. I just love that hair, the little blonde bombshell. Well, going back to that, there's just so much philosophy. We don't all know it all as much as we would love
Just Barb.
to. No. You know me. You've known me for how long? I don't go by book. I go by what's in my gut and through the Holy Spirit. And I am absolutely into my God every single day, and I may go off on this tangent and this, but I always come back to love, and I always come back to source, God's source, because that's what really gives me who I am today. And I'll be the first one to admit, God forgive me, I skipped Sunday school. I really did, and I went over to my girlfriends and we listened to rock and roll. I swear, I was like 12, 13, and my dad and mom thought I was walking to Sunday school. Nope. So later on, but my mom and dad had me have that exposure to church. And over the years, it feels so much better when you can choose that and when you can actually see God at work. And that's why we're able to handle what we handle. We've lost several friends. We just lost another bestie friend. When was Nancy back in? I know it was in the summertime. Yeah.
August.
And so, it's difficult when it's not just because we get older. I guess the times that they are when we add years to our life and things happen as you get older, yet there's still longevity and your centurions and all of that. But we're learning. We choose to learn from them, right? And that's really the biggest thing is what can we learn?
Yeah, but I think that it's more than just learning. I think it's the idea of as we have loss, we have other people that are going through similar losses, and sometimes they're closer. In Joanne's case, it's her husband.
Yes.
And in Nancy's case, she had children and other family who loved her. Like we did, but differently. I mean, she had raised a grandson, and I'm sure he's bereft, for after losing her. So it's how we support. I think it's really about how we support the people, because we're in an age where this is an ongoing pattern for us. I mean, we talked earlier off camera about loss that we had in our childhood, and we may speak to that. Maura was going to speak to that. However, really concerned about the fact that, not concerned, but I really want to encourage us to support each other now in this time that we're going to have people, almost every day someone's calling me saying someone's got cancer, somebody's got this, somebody's got that, and they're all needing support. And this is the time for us to step up. This is the time for sisters to step up, whether it's to take a food dish over, to just call, take them to get their hair done. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do. But I think the other part of it is, and this is where we were actually talking about autopilot just a little bit before this, was the fact that I feel called to write a resource book on what options are out there. When my friends that are now ill are had stepped into these health challenges, they didn't know where to look. This is the first time for many of us to step into a big health challenge. And so it's like they don't know where to get food. They don't know where to get transportation to dialysis. They don't know where to get transportation to their doctor's appointments. One woman, her husband had a stroke and he couldn't bathe himself. Well, she had been doing this for him all this time, and now she's not able to do it. Where is she going to get help for her husband, to bathe her husband? These kinds of things, there is help for almost all of this.
Yes.
But when you're sick, you can't research that.
You're right.
In most cases.
No.
My friend Marcella, the drugs that they put her on while she was on dialysis would not allow her to see the computer screen. She couldn't read the computer screen like you and I might, or she had before. She couldn't go just Google something and say, okay, well, now I know I can get transportation. So she paid for transportation to dialysis. And as I'm seeing some of this, and of course I'm trying to step in, and we all try to step in to help with these situations, but there's times that there's just no one to help, so you have to find some other mode of transportation or some other way to get food. And so I'm thinking, why not write a resource? Why not ask all of these
do you
people?
see me? I'm already leaning across the table. If you write that, you have got to let me know, because I will help you circulate that. That is something people don't know they need until they need it.
Until they need it, exactly.
And then and then what do you do? And then, not knowing compounds all of the stress,
Yes,
all of the what ifs, all of the questions.
Yes.
And then there's
Helena,
financial concerns when you're doing all this. And just today I was researching, I was telling Barb, I was researching food. Somebody on Facebook said, I have an 81-year-old uncle, and he doesn't like Meals on Wheels, but he would like some food delivered to him on a regular basis. Is there a place to get it? Well, these people were giving me resources that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
So I took those and put them in the book. You know what I'm saying?
That is so
beautiful. I'm
I
asking my
know.
people that are going through this, after Everett has some time, I might ask Everett what some of his resources were, or tips on how to handle this.
Yes.
Because you've got, there's a whole plethora, unfortunately, of challenges that they have to go through. Everything from
It's like all at
mental
once.
support,
All at once.
all of their life structures are changing.
Yes.
Everything from getting groceries to getting the laundry done to mental health days. I mean, and that's what I'm seeing in our friends that are going through this now. And so it's like, we've got to put all of our little
Helena, if I
heads
could
together.
help you with that, I would even help you with that. I love that idea.
It's just a way to get the word out. And you just triggered something that I know that I can probably get a lot for you because of the chamber shows that we do
There
here.
you go. I'm sure there's
I can't tell you
resources.
how many gals that I interviewed that were working for another company and then they started their own. And even you and I, when we chaired our Keep It Local group up here, remember? We used to have people that would come as a guest and talk and this and that. So that we will help you with as well. All I need to do is call.
And it's a matter of finding them again. There was a pharmacy gal who had actually put together with no additional charge. They would put the pills in pill packs.
Yes.
So that they couldn't really get them
Be
mixed
Well
up.
Pharmacy. Phoebe.
So Phoebe is a really good resource to
Yes.
put down. But of course, I have to go get her name and number
Right.
and put all that down. But the idea is you've got pill packs so that you don't accidentally take
and how often?
too many pills. Did I take my
Right.
2 o'clock dose? Well, right here, the 2 o'clock dose is gone. So obviously, I took the 2 o'clock
Right,
dose
right.
because I can see that being an issue.
Yeah, it
Then
is.
I'm not even having those mental challenges yet, but I can see that coming, or being an
Yeah.
issue for other people. So, and especially when the second partner gets ill, who's going to monitor the first partner that was already ill?
Well, it's
you
a
know?
cycle. It's really a cycle, and we've talked about that. The caregiver, 9 times out of 10, becomes the patient. And it's just the way it is. It's just the way the cycle goes.
Statistically, they actually die first, statistically, because of the fact. And I just talked to Paul, thank you very much, at Right at Home the other day. He gave me his resource list and printed it out for me and gave it to me, so I'm going to be putting that in the book. And he said, it's not unusual. He has a company that gives our caregivers, and they'll walk in the front door for the first time, and here's Sally. She's got dementia and Alzheimer's, and she's been having this problem for 5 years. And over here is John, her husband. Sally looks fine. John looks like a disheveled mess. John has not been taking care of himself. He can't sleep because they have most of those people with dementia, they have sundowners, so they don't sleep at night. They roam around the house. Well, he can't sleep because he's got to be up to take care of her, and he isn't eating properly, and he isn't this and that, and he is spent after 5 years of taking care of her by himself. So what's going to happen if John doesn't take care of himself? His sick spouse that he cared for is going to outlive him.
And that happens, you see that happens all the time. And this whole caregiving, where does it come from? LOVE. It comes from that. Because we want to give them the very best of care. I mean, and I'll tell you, nobody knows when something could happen to them.
Oh, no.
Who knew I was going down on that crazy dance?
That's right.
I was just telling Maura on a
You said
walker
you were in
for 2.5 weeks. And I mean, and this one here literally picked me up off the floor. And I mean, I've got good balance. I've got good dance, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. What would you call it?
She had good dance moves that night before she fell.
But the thing is, I wasn't wearing proper dance shoes. And I guess I figure I'm still 19, being a Motown girl, doing the peppermint twist on one leg. I couldn't see anything wrong with that. Could you?
Right until you went down. That was good.
So there you go, right? There you go. My husband was supposedly diagnosed with the P word. I don't like to give it the energy, Parkinson's. So this was 5 or 6 years ago. Well, guess what? We did our research. We found things that could help him with this, with that, with this, with that. Ursula is working with him on natural herbs for the memory. He's already off one of the stupid, crazy pills. I call it poison. And I'm not suggesting that people go off any medication, but this is what Helena is doing. Just so you know, Helena is a professional book publisher. So when we were having a little heart-to-heart the other day, and you went to For the Girls, right?
What happened?
What happened
Night
on
out
that
the other night. I have to give them credit. That's my other sisterhood, is the For the Girls, and you know some of them, some of them. And I've been part of that group for years now, and I have heard Suzanne speak before. Suzanne Legg. She is a principal at Day Spring Academy, has been for years. I think she was a founder of that school. It's a charter school. And I'd heard her speak one of the times. I saw she was going to speak. I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to be there. And I went, and it was just there again. It's like it's not anything new, but it's something that clicks for me for right now. And it was about, God's asking us to move. In fact, God's daring us to move, is what they were saying. And there was some wonderful music provided at this, that played into this same theme. And I'm sitting there, and I'm knowing that I'm supposed to write this book that we're talking about, the resource book. And I'm knowing this. And I actually, the last time I saw Joanne, that night, I got a message from the Holy Spirit about 3 o'clock in the morning. It was like,
usually
you need to write about your visit to Joanne today, and that's your forward. That was what I heard.
And you were up at 3 o'clock this morning. Yes.
And I didn't do it then, though. I got it. That was supposed to be there, but I didn't do it. And so after Saturday night, when I heard Suzanne and felt the love in that place, and I'm on page 5 of my book now, and I wrote the foreword.
That is fabulous.
And part of it's just resources. It's, a fair amount of research that's needed to put all this down, and of course to make sure it's like, for example, one of these little food vendors that was spoken of in this book. I didn't know if it was Florida or a national group. So you have to go to their website, make sure. I'm not vetting them, so to speak, but I am trying to find out if they're Florida or national. And I was able to find that out and put that down. But I had never heard of them, so I'm starting from scratch. And but it's, some of them are, probably really good resources. There again, it's kind of like the stores in the corner. Some of them may not be, but people are recommending them, so there's a place to start.
Guess what else?
I think
right?
so too. Go ahead.
I'm just hearing you.
Yeah.
There's that you can, right, you start somewhere and then you use it almost as a community site where people say, did you know about this? Or I use this and this is working well. And then you constantly monitor and evolve it.
Right, right.
And my mom had Meals on Wheels before she passed, and nothing against Meals on Wheels because that's probably what got her through as far as nutrition. But I'm thinking in the hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best option because when I would go there and she lived away from me, there was always food in the refrigerator left over from Meals on Wheels. Maybe it was because she kept it so that if she needed a snack, she could. But maybe the reason that it was still there was because it really wasn't that good. And that's what they were saying on the site, that Meals on Wheels wasn't that good. But there's so many options, so I started out, I was just going to do Florida resources, more Tampa Bay resources. But as I found national ones, I'm like, okay, here's Florida.
It makes sense
right?
to do
And
that.
then who
Now
knows
I'm
where it
doing
can go?
national, and so in like one place there are Florida and Georgia, so I put it under Florida, but I wrote also available in Georgia.
See, this is so good.
And just evolutionary. And just to think, now look at this. You saw a need and you thought, I have an idea, right? And then you also had the inspiration for your forward.
Yes.
And people, when I think about things like that, it's like you could give people a lot of things that are two-dimensional. It's information on a piece of paper. But when there is heart behind something,
yes.
and people know what that is, they could feel it,
Yes.
and it takes on a life of its own.
And that thing called Heart, a couple of years ago, actually it was right after I went down on the dance floor, and you had an issue with, what did you call your foot?
It was a foot drop. I had a foot drop, neurological
Neuropathy or
problem,
something? Yeah.
and that's what the doctor diagnosed it with, and it was a nerve issue with my foot, and so I also had at the same time, it was kind of odd that Barb and I both had a foot problem. Hers was leg oriented, but both of us couldn't really go like we used to go. So if you look at it metaphorically, we couldn't go like we had been going before, so we had to go a different direction.
Well, we did.
And that was part of what this thing was Saturday night. It was like, we use excuses not to move.
Right.
I like this. We use excuses. I've got young kids. I can't do that right now, God. I really don't know enough, God. I can't do that, and these are the things that there are excuses. I don't have enough time, obviously, that's one. I don't have enough money to do that, God. Oh, I've got a husband. I have to go check with him to see if I can do this, God. And then age. I'm too old to do this, God.
Right, and that,
you know what? I am not too old to do this.
No,
And we were not, and we were sick. So part of it was I'm sick right now. We were sick, but that didn't stop us.
It didn't stop us, and I'll tell you one big reason why. Because we took account of our health, and we're looking for the answers. I opened up my villa to my friends, a small handful of friends, the friends that
one of them was Joanne.
Took advantage of it. Joanne was one,
and
Everett,
and
you, and
me,
me, and my husband, and
she actually opened it to other people who didn't actually take advantage.
I did. They couldn't or wouldn't, or they were this. They didn't, and that's fine. No, no judgment, not at all. But the point of it is that we did not know what was going to work or what wasn't. But mind you, before this, we're getting word of this person having this person having that. They don't know what to do. Should they go for chemo? Should they try alternative? We don't have all these answers. But what did I call it? I said, I want to put together a triage tribe, just like they do at the hospitals or in war. And guess what? You said it right there. It's the passion. We are at war every second of every day with the word dis-ease. And if there's anything we can all do to do researches that you're doing with them, it will help people look into that, go, oh, maybe I ought to look at this. Maybe I ought to check this out or whatever. And guess what? It's working. Joanne has some other things going on that we really can't talk about or anything, but her heart was in this.
And
so
she did improve during that time period.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Even if she didn't improve one iota, she improved because she was with friends who loved her.
That's right.
It goes back to love.
It goes back to love.
She laughed with us. We told jokes. We encouraged her to play the bowl again. She really didn't feel like she could do it, so we found an app for her to do a drum app on her iPad. And she was so happy that we were there for her. That was really what was important.
Right. And that's the thing.
Can I
Let's
pause
thank
you both on this?
Can I
being
just
false?
say?
Go ahead. No,
Can I
finish
just
what you're
say,
saying.
though, to thank our friend Chrysula, because she gifted us a wonderful gift, and not just that modality of healing, but in the fact that she brought us together at a time which now we
All
look
of
back
us.
on with happiness.
And Chrysula is one of our unscripted women. She was down at the Herb Center where she's getting her certification to help people with trying some alternatives, and she'll be back on the show too, but I don't think she could have made it because she was all the way down in St. Pete. But I love her. When she heard I went down, she talked to Cher, and Cher told her I went down on the dance floor. She called me up and she said, I'm coming over, we're going to do some sessions. And then we just collaborated together, and I said, look, if you're willing to do this, I'm willing to open up our villa and see who we can help and who we can get results and who we can give these alternatives to. And guess what? I did not have surgery for the ACL or the torn meniscus. You did not go through some other kind of whatever you were told that you
Very
had.
expensive treatment.
And you were
decompression.
Yes, and you had a drop foot. Your leg was partially dragging, wasn't it? When you were walking?
I had numbness, and so I wouldn't know I didn't know when my foot hit the ground. That was a little disconcerting. But more importantly, I didn't know when my foot hit the ground when I was going down a curb, when I would step off the concrete.
Which, of course, could be a little
and
dangerous.
So
You're
I would have to actually look down.
Right.
And so then when you're looking down and you're a curb, what are you not looking at? The traffic. So you could be not looking at, and so it was very... I wasn't even in pain. It was just the idea that I didn't know where my foot was going. It was going without me.
I know. And just think about, and like we never know. Did you know that was going to happen and where it came from?
No, and I don't know where it came from, and I don't know where it went. And I'm glad I left, though. And I have none of that problem anymore.
Great? I've had things like that in my own life,
Like what?
too. Like what? In my late 20s, I had my thyroid removed. Totally removed.
Wow.
And then I took thyroid medication for several years, and then one day I stopped taking it. And usually you can't go like more than 7 days without thyroid medication, and I don't take any medication at all.
Wow.
And that was
you.
like 15 years ago.
You just stopped cold turkey?
Well, it's something was in me. I used to look at that pill every day, and I think somebody told me this one tiny little pill is responsible for my life. And it was bothering me for a while, and then I would take it sometimes, not take it. And the last time I went, and I got a prescription filled and never took a pill.
Wow.
But yeah, so however it is, and it's not the only thing that kind of came and went, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do when I said, you want to pause this just for a little bit, you were saying the things you can't do, the things you can do. Sometimes we have major challenges in our lives, and it presents us with scenarios we never thought we'd have. But in our own passion to say, what do I do now? How do I fix this? It becomes the passion that helps us to reach out. And how many people today have been going through their own health crises, right? I know young people, older people, and it's from those places they end up maybe working on healing modalities for themselves at whatever level, and then they become helpers to other people.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And
exactly.
And the other thing I just wanted to reference is that you were talking kind of like, you get older, we all have things slow down, they don't operate like they used to. But how many young people and how many people of every age are so challenged? Like it was last weekend, I was visiting a young girl, friends of ours' daughter. She, when she was very young, had to have a kidney replacement, and she filled with life. If I could tell you, this girl, she could conquer the world. And the next thing I knew, her kidney gave out. So I went to visit her in the hospital. And did I have anything special to give her? I gave her me. And I listened to her, and I shared, and we talked about things that, and you know what, that little girl, she's so filled with life. I said, I can't believe I'm visiting you in the hospital, Children's Hospital in St. Pete, and there she was with a smile. She's as white as could be. They don't know what's going to happen, and yet She's using what happened in her own life to help other people
See.
and to come up with, I can't even share what they are, but she's using her own challenge as a means of giving her purpose and helping others. And the other thing I want to say,
how
I learned
sweet.
this from a friend of mine. She's a nurse up in Canada who stopped nursing because one day she could not deal with all that was going on in the hospitals. And what it was that she was seeing, and I don't want to take her story away, but she was seeing people helping other people in tangible ways, but not by the heart. She left. And then she came back and she worked on this whole thing about how do we just show up for other people. And this is pulling it full circle around for our friend Joanne here, is that she knew that many people didn't know what to do with grief. And so she started interviewing people that had gone through grief and what things worked. And she wrote a book about it. And from there, she started a campaign, and it was called Just Show Up. So think about what you're doing. You're talking about all
chill
of these
bumps.
very tangible things we could do because you
Yes,
know these and you have the
yes,
resources.
yes.
And how often, you're right, we could say, I'm busy, my husband, my job, my kids, right? I'm exhausted, my work. But there's something we all can do, and maybe it's just a tiny little thing. We can just show up to do whatever it is that we can do to help however we can help. Maybe we are at home all the time, we're cooking for a family, but maybe we have something left over. Maybe we could prepare something, but somebody else could drive it over. So how can we just show up for other people in whatever that means for us? We don't have to be doing, like, I don't have to write your book, it was your idea. I would help you with it. I
That's
could
right.
help you. I will help you promote it and share it. You know, that's me.
Yep, and same here. That's why I love doing these shows, because
Oh, yeah.
I have that big mouth, and I want to.
I
I
have a
want,
big microphone,
I
Barbara.
want
That's what it
to
is.
be a voice and do that. And I love the fact that you said that, because we all have
Oh.
that capability. Even, I mean, in fact, what came to mind today, and I want to, because we only have like 15 minutes
Wow,
and
did
some
this go
change. I can't
fast?
believe it. I just want to mention something about this gal, Joanne. I was talking to Everett today. We have a nickname that we call him Grasshopper. He was at one of our events, and when we went around the room, he introduced himself as Grasshopper. We go, alrighty then. So I talked to Grasshopper today, and I was checking in on him, see how he's doing. He's doing pretty good considering. And he said, now why don't you come on over for the sound bed? Joanne and he were sound healers, are sound healers. And something that I want to say about Joanne is we became such good friends. She was my flea market buddy, but even more importantly, she was so supportive in the community, like you gals. And I mean, she was there. When I was looking for some of the pictures for the little video clip that I did, I thought, geez, she was at both my Dancing with the Local Stars, like you guys were. She supported just any event that was out there going on from the Amazing Women, and she was on the board with the Amazing Women. And Cher Kissler was the founder of that. And oh my gosh, Cher will be back, and you'll see why we love her so much too. But there was something about Joanne's presence. You always felt like you were around an angel.
Yes.
She had a soft-spoken voice, and I can hear her voice right now, and I can see her face smiling just like it is in this picture here. And I know she's whole and healthy. She was also one of our certified Tai Chi instructors as well. She showed up at all of our seminars and talks, and I think she was there when both of you guys showed up too. So we all were kind of like this triage tribe trying to help one another, and now we're carrying the torch for Joanne, because she's just through a very thin veil, as Cher said quite eloquently on the phone to me. So she's working from the other side, and she's left us with so much love, and getting back to that whole thing about love. Love is the major healing force, and we've all said it today very, very naturally in our conversation. We're not trying to sell you on love. We don't have to, because it proves itself. Yes, I'm a product junkie, you know that, but
Product
what,
junkie.
what can I
Not
tell you?
everybody
This is-
knows you're the product junkie on home shopping. You really were.
I had
But
to
you
be.
are loved, Barbara.
I had
You
to be.
are.
Well, you know what? I use those skill sets to know what I need to do to help you, to help us, really validate if there's something out there that can help. And we're working on, oh, you don't even know about this. This this is really good what we're working on for energy and frequencies. And you'll hear about that down the road, but we're not ready for that. But Joanne was always motivating to me, and we'd take off. I'd go and pick her up. I'd get her out of the house, and this was before she had her health challenges and everything. We'd just bum around the flea market, didn't spend any money. Maybe we'd buy some bamboo. We'd come back, and I'd give her some feng shui tips in her home, in their yard. They have such a beautiful garden. You go out there, and you feel like you have your own private Zen garden. Ooh. It's awesome. But before we close this show, I think it's important for us to share, because I know every single one of you have had that moment in time where you've had to really dig deep, whether it be in prayer, meditation, or just stepping back and taking a deep breath and realizing that life can be gone like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's a long drawn out thing with health or whatever, but don't be afraid to reach out to people and allow us to help you with that, because our hearts are in it.
I encourage them to actually ask.
Yes.
So ask us. Ask your friends what you need, because the fact is that most women are givers their whole lives. We're always giving, giving, giving. But you're blessing us by asking us.
That's right.
You're blessing us by asking us. So keep that in mind. You have been the giver all your life. It's your time.
It is.
It's your time.
Maura, you were going to, and thank you for that, Tink, you were going to talk about how you had to face grief at a very, very young age.
Goodness. It really was life-altering.
You had to learn at a young age.
Life-altering. When I was small, I was probably traumatized by death, because I saw it in so many different places. Like, I could just tell you, in one case, my great-grandmother lived with us, so I was always around a lot of people, and she died in the bedroom right next to mine. So there we had the dead woman right next to me. I remember watching my grandmother in 6 weeks' time from pancreatic cancer drop and just go. And I remember not only when my great-grandmother died, I remember going to the funeral, the one who died next to my bedroom. But then on the third day of the funeral, we get there, and her son is lying, he had died also, right beside her. And so, those are just a few things. I had one grandmother who was coming home from work, got hit by a bus on her way home from New York City, dragged, jaw broke, and she's dead in a second. My grandfather, who I adored, 5 years old, sat me on his lap, told me he was going away to heaven. A couple of days later, he's dead of a heart attack. So I had so many things, right down to the dog that died. But here's the thing that I picked up as a child. As much as I had all that trauma, the loss, another grandfather dying, he was 6'2", he died at 62 pounds. Every time I went to to visit him, he was thinner, sicker. But there are good takeaways, because I'm not the ambassador of happiness for nothing. Isn't it amazing?
It's
you talk
true.
about passion.
It's true.
I carried a lot of that on me, wow. But what I learned as a very young child was the vanity of life. Sometimes you go through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, you think you're all that, you're dressing well, maybe you got stuff, people think you're hot stuff. I don't even know if they use that word anymore. But by watching the end of life, and you see how we all go on that arc. I could have been 5, 6, 7 years old, and I saw the vanity, and it changed the way I thought. It made me an old soul, maybe even though I didn't come into the world this way. And so from that point forward, I never looked at the things that other people thought were so important, because I knew the end of life. And I was always aware, where am I going? What is the end of life? What does life matter? And this is one other thing on the non-scripted show, that the first time ever you gave us things. One of the points you shared with us on our email today was to honor people now. I learned, rather than waiting until people die and give them a good eulogy, which of course you can.
I know.
I can't tell you what do you see every time I'm with you? What do? Do I not tell you all the beautiful things I see and feel and sense, every gift, everything I love about you? I could do this with strangers.
Yes.
I do it with everybody every time I see them, because I want them to know it while they're with us.
Of course.
Now isn't it interesting? That's one of the things I give to people. I don't have all of your resources, and I don't rock the babies, but that's what I do. I want people to know what a gift they are. And when people know that, the love in them, the self-love, the awareness of the gift that they are, they get filled with love. And it's like a lot of the static goes away when you could start seeing people through the eyes of love.
There's a lot to be said for that, too. And
Thank you for that.
I think so. I think it's a good
I'm glad
love.
that you shared that with others, because it gives that perspective on, and I know that we have viewers out there thinking, these girls have a little bit here and there. There are a lot of takeaways, though, a lot. And when you come from love, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, when I met you the first time, it was when my husband was speaking over at a country club. And how did that all happen?
That? Because I wanted to meet Helena because we were publishing books and we weren't going to do it anymore. And I heard Helena did, and so she said, "Well, I'm going to be speaking about it at some event." It was your event. I walked in. Oh my gosh! I'm so glad you told me this for everybody else's benefit. You could tell I was even shyer back then, right?
Yes,
I walked in. I walked into this big room. It was beautiful. Country club type room. I knew what you looked like. I knew you were hosting it. You got up from your big round table, came across the room. I'm so glad you came. You give me a big hug. And I thought, oh my gosh, I felt your love. And I have to tell you this too, Barbara. There was something in you, and this was several years ago. I felt so supported by your love. I felt so good. And I felt so accepted. And I thought, I love this woman. I love this environment. I loved listening to your husband talk. Look at how all of this has happened.
I know.
When we do share with people the love that's in our hearts, this is what I'm finding. I could be at the grocery store, wherever. I'm sure there's a bad hair day. We're bragging about your hair.
Oh, my
This is not the
gosh.
best day for me, but that's all right. This is the real show.
You're perfectly fine.
Anyway, I could be at the grocery store, and I've a couple of times said to some girls coming in, "Oh my goodness, you look so well dressed today. You look so pretty."
Perfect
I have had
strangers.
women. Now, years ago, people would be like, "Who is this person?" I've had women,
I know.
young women, it would bring tears to their eyes.
Yes,
They'd say, "Oh my
yes.
gosh, thank you. You don't know how much I needed to hear this today."
yes,
But that's a
yes,
simple little
yes.
thing. When we can honor people
yeah.
and love them, whether we know them or don't know them, we know, all we have to do sometimes is test out those little things and see what it does. For me, it makes me so happy when I see people receive a good word about themselves. But see, it all goes back to the same thing. So there are many, trust me, there are so many skills I don't have.
Well, I can
But
certainly say that too.
I admire everybody else's, but I know those places that I could go in and I make my own difference. And it's how I raise people up.
That's right. That's right. And our viewers out there, I'm sure they do things that we don't know about. And if you do, we'd love to hear from you.
If you have resources, I'd love to hear
If you
from
have
you.
resources, this is our gal for those resources. And hey, maybe we'll have you on the show. If you're in the Newport Richey area, let us know. We want to grow this show, and we want to really use this as a platform to get information out there, because I'll tell you, after getting, and this goes back how many years? We've been friends for 10 years. I saw that on Facebook somewhere. 10 years. I think it's even longer.
I think it's
than that.
longer. I think, yeah.
Wow, we must have patience.
Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's you.
But all kidding aside, we always talk about what's going on and with our friends, and did you hear this one? Did you hear that? And it's not gossipy. It's how can we help our friends? And sometimes we vent in a way like, what do you mean the doctor misdiagnosed this person? What do you mean they're on all these medications and the doctors aren't communicating? Oh, we have one story after another that will literally piss you off, okay? And I mean that because it's my passion. It's not anger. It is at first,
Sometimes it is for
but then
me.
I go right down to love, and I go, okay, they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with, and then I go into my deep breathing, and I raise my frequency back to love, because I can promise you, if you come from love, and it may take practice, because whatever your belief system, this never fails. Love never fails, and you're hearing about it, and whether you think we're wackadoodles or not, talking about this whole love, you're right. You're absolutely right. But you can look for the validation in science. Check out Heart Math Institute, because no matter what our situation is like, for me, I get through it with love and faith, and not in that order, because I'll tell you, I skipped Sunday school, as I said in the very beginning, and I know that God is with me. I, too, get woken up in the middle of the night from the Holy Spirit with these ideas and things going on, and it's amazing. And then when you can share the stories like we're sharing today, God, gosh, we only have less than 3 minutes, so
And
I'm
before
going to
you
turn
go,
over to
I was
you
going to
guys.
ask you a question for the sake of
Yes.
listening or the viewers today. How can people reach us? I know we're on Facebook because we post, but let's say somebody just finds us. How can they reach us?
We can start with you because I have an announcement to make, too, about our dear friend Joanne. How do they reach you, Maura, for
Okay,
you?
my name, it's Maura, M as in Mary, A-U-R-A, at Maura, same name, the number 4, the letter U.com. Maura at Maura4U.com.
Perfect. And Tink?
They can email me, Helena Trangata at iCloud.com. I'm all over Facebook, as many of you know. Helena Trangata, and I go by Tink or Tinkerbella.
And of course, I'm your host too, Barbara Marville-Kelly. You can always reach me at my phone number, 727-798-8081. And you can also go to my website, barbaramarville.com. You can also learn a lot on dennis-kelly.com. And he is my host, my co-host on Mondays when he's available and when the girls aren't here. And we share a lot of information with you. But it's time for us to close our show, and I'm just going to give another bit of great honor to our dear friend Joanne Hill. And the services are going to be at Dobie's Funeral Home on February 8th at 1 p.m. And there she is. You can see her passion and her dedication to her Tibetan bowls. And I have one of my own teeny-weeny little Tibetan bowls here in efforts to just remind us of her musical talents and her healing from sound and so much. And we just love you, Joanne, and you're going to stay with us forever and ever until we meet again. Do you have a last little thing to say?
I was just going to add one more contact thing, but I'm so glad you covered that with Joanne. You're right. Until we meet again, we will all meet again.
We will.
In a better place, in better bodies. But
That's
here's
true.
another thing. I am also on Twitter. This is another easy way. I'm Maura, number 4, letter U, on Twitter. And guess what? I'm connected with you. I don't know if you're on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle? Because maybe people listening.
I don't know.
You don't even know you're there? Never mind.
No, but I'm on Instagram.
Okay, and I'm not really
Instagram,
too much on
and it's
Instagram.
Tink, one amazing storyteller.
Well, I am
Okay.
going to do this because
Okay.
Joanne told
You're gonna
me
finish?
how to do this by just...
I remember her showing you.
Were you there?
Yes.
20 seconds. So
Okay.
I'm going to give this little dedication to
There you
Joanne.
go, Joanne.
The bells will always ring for you. Joanne, we love you. Thanks for joining us.